right, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the program. It's Good Afternoon, Ghana, and we've met again to discuss issues of the country. This afternoon, we're dealing with security matters. Well, so when it comes to the sub-region, I think it has been quite a disturbance and a concern to a lot of leaders who are making, comments, complaints, even observers are all talking about it. There's a fundamental issue wrong with some African countries, and it's giving rise to persons who think that they can make things better, claim power through foul means, right? And I'm talking coup d'etat. The latest one that we're having to deal with has to do with Niger, and considering some of the communique that has come from ECOWAS is indicating that some people are not happy, others are okay. They think that, well, it's a good one that will serve as a lesson to the people of Niger. But what is the impact of this on Ghana? We're having predictions. We're having lecturers talk about why African countries will continue to see coup in our generation, even in our generation. We're thinking that, well, it's a thing of the past. It's never going to happen. But if you look at also the underlying factors that, causes coup, are they really real? Do they exist? Or they're just some pretense that coup plotters just use to snatch power from democratically elected leaders? We'll be discussing this issue this afternoon with Dr. Adam BONAA, who is a security analyst with me, and also Pargrave Boachidankwa is a government spokesperson on governance and security. Let's take a breather. When we come back, I'll start with them, and then we look into what we can do going forward. Right, you're welcome back to the program. Good afternoon, Ghana, and I have Dr. Adam BONAA, security analyst with me. Dr. Adam BONAA, good afternoon to you, and Ghanaians are saying good afternoon as well. Pargrave Boachidankwa is also government spokesperson on governance and security. He's with me in the studio. Pargrave, thank you for your time as well. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Well, so, we're in a generation where, Adam, I'll start with you. I think we are in a generation where coup is no more so sacred, like, we used to treat it. Now it's really freedom of speech, where everybody who's talking about it, or I would say most people talking about it, seem to have a justification of coup. I was wondering, is it the generation that people are now thinking more and not just seeing military people as greedy people who also want to hang on to power, or it is that we are just violent?
Well, good afternoon, and good afternoon to Pargrave, my colleague panelist, and praying that he becomes the Ebuakwanov MP by 2025.
Something that we're keeping
where the kind of alliance. He's cool, calm, and so you need persons like that in Parliament.
Oh, we don't have cool, calm people.
No, when I say we need persons like that, the Eastern region, that part of town is usually, they call it the headquarters of the MPP. And so whoever is put there, whether you do well or you don't do well, you just have to win the primaries, and you are sure that you are going to Parliament, whether you do well or not. And so when you go to most of these areas, performance is zero.
Low.
I have gone to some of these constituencies and perform, including where he comes from. It's poor. So when I heard that he was going, I said, okay, so we need young men like him to unseat the non-performing MPs in those areas.
I think this will be an interesting research topic for Global Info Analytics.
Okay,
so that they conduct, polls on performance, development performance of MPs who have won their seat in strongholds, party strongholds.
Yes.
I think it's it will be an interesting, place to look at how their development really is looking like, because they lay back.
Some of them are doing well. There's one of these MPs from the Volta region. He talks a lot. He's a lawyer. I can't remember his name. Recently, he said his roads have been done and all that. Don't remember his name. so that even in opposition, he's fought well to make sure that his area, the roads are done. You go to the eastern region, and some of them, but others too have done extremely well. I won't say all of them, but I went to his area. There's nothing to write home about, and you ask yourself that such a seat, you don't need the same persons. It should be a swing seat, even within the parties. It should be a swing.
Within the party.
Let's have swing seats within parties.
This will be this.
You know what I'm saying? Let's have swing seats. So if he comes and he underperforms, kick him out. Bring somebody else to do it. That is the only way we can guarantee development of this country. But the guy is there. He knows that once I'm from Bebuakwa North, I'm from Ho, so and so and so. Oh. We need primaries.
You're gone.
I'm gone, which I think shouldn't be, which itself is a security threat. And as a security analyst,
I was expecting you to.
I was waiting for
that. We are praying that 2024. By the time we are done with the election, some of these people would have. I mean, the primaries, they lose their seats so that others would have taken over from them. Because I know that area, whoever wins the seats, the primaries would obviously usually win. And so Power Grade, yes, working with him, I've had some we attended the same school, so we've done the same program. So he seemed to be someone who can do well. So I believe that his constituents, they are watching, and some of us will storm the place, even though I don't do politics. I'll storm the place to go campaign for. Now, coming to the reason why we are here. If you look at the last, good afternoon to your viewers. If you look at the census that was conducted, the last census that was conducted in this country, if you look at the age, most people, in fact, in West Africa, we are told are aged, below 35. 35, okay. So anyone who is aged even today, 45, would not have seen probably the coups we had in Ghana. If you are aged around 45, you will not have seen it. Because, it is no joke. I remember before 79, so the periods from 76, 77, 78, 79, those periods were very terrible in the history of this country. It was one coup and counter coup or the other.
Right.
You get up in the morning, and we used to have just GBC, SW1, SW2. You get up, and the moment you hear the national anthem being played, then if you were moving, you stop to listen to who has taken over GBC to announce that now we are in charge of the country. And you probably would hear it in the morning, in the evening. Then you have a counter announcement that ignore them. Nothing has taken place. And growing up in Tema those days, Community 2 to be specific, we had some military facilities. One of them, I don't know whether it's still there today, in the 70s, the 90s, White House, that had a lot of military officers in the dark days. And anytime there was going to be coup, they would shoot from night till the next morning. Sometimes for 3 days, they'll be shooting in the air.
Wow.
They will just constantly. It's like a war front. They will shoot. It won't take long, then you will hear, something nearly happened. Those were the days we had the Nkwantabisa and, 1,000 and co who were harbor masters, Tema Harbor. They ruled. So anybody who does not know the way coup looks like, I say that during those days, people suffered. I had friends who lost their parents. I had, ordinary women. We had ordinary women who, went to Tema Harbor those days, the yellow corns and whatever that were coming in, they had to load them with, tipper trucks. And you had the hustlers sometimes attempting to jump and fetch rice infested with, weevils and all that. And sometimes you would watch on around Tema train station, the Tema Harbor train station, and they will shoot a human being. They will shoot you, you fall and die. And sometimes
unprovoked.
They will shoot at you, and the only reason is that a tipper truck is moving loaded with some food items from the harbor. And someone is jumped to try and fetch some because he's hungry, or maybe he wants to sell it to eke out a living. They will shoot you. Sometimes the body will be there from morning till evening. Or sometimes if they killed you in the night, you will lie there from evening till the next morning. This didn't...
I mean, basically, that's because the constitution has been overthrown.
Nothing was working.
Yeah.
Nothing. So when I hear people say coup, I crunch and I ask, do you really know what you're talking about? You see, usually when the coup makers come in, they sneak in. And when they sneak in, they rally the people behind them. You remember 79. I don't think you had been born by then. You know, let the blood flow. When you hear let the blood flow. Yeah. I mean, JJ, do something before you die. And this was, and the coup leaders themselves sometimes lose, they lose control of the situation. So you have the unfortunate, citizens who suffer in the hands of the ordinary soldiers, who will go around settling scores and beating people and looting and doing at that point. The laws of the country doesn't work. And for a very long time, we were in curfew.
Okay, so why are we pretending, coup is not good, right? We all know.
No, it's not good, no.
Why are we pretending that we're not seeing that the democracy we're practicing is equally not working? Because leaders pretend that they're using democracy to work, but they use the democracy to kill people. And when I say kill, I'm not speaking in idiomatic expression. I'm using literally kill people.
Well, you see, I tell you what, the democracy we have now cannot be compared to any coup anywhere. The democracy, maybe because of my age, the democracy we have.
I was going to say maybe because of my age.
Yes, because of my age and what some of us went through as boys growing or children growing up. The democracy we have today, Annie, I will tell you, I need anybody who is my age or older than me, who lived, if you were living somewhere where it was not a den for the coups, you didn't see them, then I can pardon you. But if you witnessed it, then I would want anybody to come and tell me that the democracy we enjoy today is worse than the days of coups. No, it is not true. You know why? Today, I sit here. If I disagree with the president, I will say it. If one district, one factory is not working, I will say it. Today, we have parliaments. We have parliament that is providing that oversight, check on the executive. And they are doing that on our behalf, even though we have questioned some of the things Parliament, some of the things they should have done. But I say that, you know what, let's not confuse what is happening in Francophone West Africa to our situation in Ghana. We are different. What, at least, see, Annie, we are 30 years old, or about 31. I mean, look at America. How old is America's democracy? Okay? We nearly had a coup before Trump left. In Germany, right? Some Germans nearly staged a coup. Are you telling me that the coup makers in Germany were staging a coup because they thought that everything was wrong? No. They actually thought the country was moving too many immigrants and that these are the far right. You know Trump, a bit of far right, right? And so, as far as I'm concerned, let's not confuse what is happening in Francophone West Africa. Francophone West Africa, we all know that they are not 100% independent. We know the idea of France. France is still, they have to show their annual budget to France. They have to do this, they have to do that, they have to do this. But over here, we have put in measures. So as far as I'm concerned, We are not doing bad when it comes to our democracy, even though we could have done better. We could have done better, but you see, if you tell me we have bad leaders, then I say we have bad citizens. You know why? Because it is the citizens who vote in MPs, assemblymen, and the president. And so you are as good as your president. And your president at a time, at every given point, is as good as you. And so if we all decided
but you see, sometimes when we judge that way, we're not being fair to citizens.
Why?
In the sense that when citizens are monitoring the activities of governance, they begin to complain.
Yes.
And even the leaders will tell you, like Nanado said, be citizens and not spectators, which means sometimes we're not expecting our leaders to be perfect. And when we're not expecting them to be perfect, we draw the attention that, listen, you're doing something that we're not happy with and you have to change it. If you don't listen and you continue, you are not as bad as us. You are just not listening.
You see,
sometimes it's not all the time that the leader is a reflection of the society.
You know what? I disagree, respectfully. I disagree. I disagree because, you see, we have three arms of government. We have the executive, we have the legislature, and we have the judiciary. Amongst these three organs I've spoken about, they are supposed to form, the machinery that fuels this country to move forward. First of all, at what point do we say our leaders are not listening? I don't want to say President Nanado and his
not
people.
Necessarily.
At what point?
Him.
Yes, I'm using that as an illustration. But at what point do we say our leaders are not listening? The moment I would want us to have a very, honest conversation. Recently, when we said we didn't want the finance minister, it went through a certain rigorous process. 85 or 86 of the majority MPs signed on to remove him. Obviously, the executive felt being let down, pushed this majority MPs to say, well, we will work around and get him to get us IMF and blah, 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 blah. Eventually, he's still there. I don't know whether the economy is getting better or not. That's another conversation. But mine is that these MPs are supposed to be the other layer that is supposed to check the executive. So at that point, if they had joined hands with the minority, the finance minister would have been a goner. But unfortunately, we all vote to elect a president, and at the constituency level, we vote to elect MPs. So at what point do we say they are not listening? They are not listening. It is the reason why in the next election, if you feel that your MP let you down, vote him out or vote her out. If you feel that the MPP let you down, vote the MPP out. Bring in another party. And so mine is that it is difficult because the moment we take away the role of the citizens in misleadership and misgovernance, then we begin to skew it to say, okay, let's blame the leaders. Forgetting that, you see, I am one proponent who believes in vote buying. Do you know why I believe in vote buying?
Why?
I believe in vote buying because, you see, vote buying probably will not let us move towards the angle of coups in Ghana. You know why? Because my good friend is going to be standing elections. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he's already receiving donations. He's already thinking about some mini bag of rice. He's thinking about give 200. I'm not saying you will. But all of them, according to their own statement, they have to literally give things to the constituents to be able to come to power. And so if the constituents decide that we will not take it from you, mm-hmm. but we are going to make sure you do the right thing, then we are playing our role. But so long as you take it from the MP, then you see you are equally going to be blamed for the situations we find ourselves. Okay. And so as far as I'm concerned, Annie, we are as good, and I repeat, we are as good at every given point, the president who is leading us. And we are as good at every given point in a constituency, the MP who is leading us. So if you turn around the corner, and your road has not been done. But you elected the same MP to go to parliament because you thought it was a stronghold.
Okay.
So, as far as I'm concerned, Annie, let's not mix up the issues where we bring in the francophone issues and try to say, okay, what is happening? Yes, we have serious challenges in this country: unemployment, corruption, and all manner of things. Like you are saying, the leaders are not listening, and all manner of things. But mine is that the moment we begin to bring in the angle of francophone coups, because they are now fighting for independence. For us, I think that we are actually fighting for economic independence. If you ask me today, what Ghanaians we are fighting for is development, because we don't show our budget to the King of England. We don't answer to the Parliament of the UK.
But that's the same thing Nigeria is fighting for.
Say that.
Development.
No. The Nigerians. Nigerians would have to show their budget to France. I'm sure you know. Their reserve is held in France.
Yes.
Our reserve is held by Bank of Ghana.
Yes.
Our money is not in anybody's care. And so what we are asking for is that, how did the Bank of Ghana lose 60 million? Almost became bankrupt.
Yeah.
These are the questions. If this money was being held in, what do you call it, in England, Central Bank of England, then you will say we are now trying to fight for some emancipation, some from colonial masters.
Right.
But for us, we are entirely independent, and so whatever is happening here, let's hold ourselves and say we are responsible.
That's true. That's true. I mean, by practice, we're entirely independent, but it's not entirely true that we're entirely independent. Fargrave, you're welcome again.
Thank you, Annie.
So
Thank
I'm
you.
sure you are comfortable with the position he's taken and how he's letting us understand the issues. But you still must be worried that even though we're looking at the Francophone rich, Anglophones cannot act like ostriches.
Very much so. So a very good afternoon to you and to Dr. BONAA and to your viewing public. And really to state that coup d'etats have come at a stage where we need to discredit it, because whatever happens in a very democratically elected government, coup d'etat comes to unconstitutionally remove those governments. And our government and the government of Ghana and the people of Ghana are very much against coup d'etat. It's a very Stone Age practice of wanting to exercise your protest or your dislike of your government. And ECOWAS has spoken about it. ECOWAS has met. The chair of ECOWAS, Tinubu, gave a moratorium, which is over now. Sometime last week, sent a religious leader from Sokoto. Well, I think that it's a community. It's a community of heads of state.
For this one, he agrees.
No, it's a community of heads of state who have regulations and policies that have put in place.
You know how people see them now? They see them as a block of friends who are fighting for the interest of their own friends.
I disagree.
That is, I'm telling you.
After that, I agree.
I'm telling you.
I disagree.
It is
I disagree.
what is in the minds of our people now. And I'm not talking about Ghanaians.
No, we can unpack that. We can
yes,
unpack those thoughts. I mean, we can unpack those thoughts
on the African continent who know that these are just a group of people are friends and they are fighting for.
No. The ECOWAS is a representation of sub-regional countries. These sub-regional countries are sovereign in their rights, whose people have elected their presidents to represent them at the sub-regional level of ECOWAS. I can understand and appreciate some concerns that citizens would have from other countries on the position of ECOWAS, but it doesn't rule out the essence of a regional body. It doesn't rule out the protocols that must be put in place. We can have an entirely different conversation about the KPIs of ECOWAS, and if at all ECOWAS is meeting up to those KPIs, and if at all ECOWAS is able to stand strong enough
Let me just ask
to
a simple question.
Western
Those
countries.
KPIs, is ECOWAS meeting them?
Oh, clearly. I mean, I think that generally ECOWAS might have its own
No, I
peculiar.
don't want to know.
No,
The specific KPIs, Is ECOWAS meeting them?
What is ECOWAS set up for? ECOWAS is set up for regional balance. ECOWAS is set up for trade. ECOWAS is set up for economic liberation. ECOWAS is set up to ensure that countries that are going through civil unrest like these, they bring in a strong arm to ensure that those countries return back to constitutional rule. ECOWAS ECOWAS clearly believes in the values of democracy, and the values of democracy. Let me just expound on the values of democracy. I mean, the values of democracy is the rule of law, is freedom of elections, is freedom of assembly of political parties and political participation, is freedom of expression, is freedom of religion, is freedom of human rights. So these values of democracy are strong values of democracy that ECOWAS adheres to. ECOWAS has a broad network of challenges, but in the midst of their challenges, we cannot discount the purposes for which regional leaders have decided to come together, to work together, and to foster unity. The African Free Continental Free Trade Area has come as a result of ECOWAS' own significant contribution. As a result of that, ECOWAS has been working on an eco currency. And so we can't discount that, but we can also have an entirely different conversation on some of the peculiar challenges that ECOWAS is having. I might also have my own independent reservation of some of the issues that ECOWAS has, which might not be a position of government. And so we need to decouple those issues out of it, so we don't send a very strong signal as though ECOWAS is a combination of cronies who want to ensure that they continually bring civil unrest onto people.
That signal is already out there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This platform, the media platform, gives us an opportunity to unpack those conversations and also bring a bit more clarity. But I can understand those issues. But our goal is to ensure that we strengthen ECOWAS, so ECOWAS becomes a stronger regional bloc. We strengthen ECOWAS so that ECOWAS can be able to withstand other pressures that might be coming from Western communities and Western blocs as well. The stronger our economic ECOWAS unity is stronger, the better for its citizenry, because that's where the epic is. When they are able to have a stronger ECOWAS, then we can have a stronger AU, then we can have a stronger continent, because we've talked about the future of the continent.
To have a stronger approach to the KPI's implementation of the ECOWAS, it has to look at applying the bottom-up approach than the top-down approach, and that's what ECOWAS seems to be doing. It's picking from the top. When it has results of its incompetence exposed, that's when it's seen to be working. So you have a group of people, and this one, it says African Rising is for unity, justice, and peace dignity. For example, it says Africans Rising statement on Niger coup. Africans Rising for Unity, Justice, Peace, Dignity is opposed to the military takeover of the political power and hereby denounces the actions by the Niger's military to seize power through the coup d'etat and suspended the constitution. We call on the military officers to allow peaceful resolution to the statement, return the country to civilian rule and restore constitutional order in Niger. We also urge the international and regional bodies such as ECOWAS and African Union to begin constructive engagements with all relevant actors to maintain peace and stability. In this light, we disagree with the threats of military intervention by ECOWAS member states, such as action proposed sanctions must not further, such as action would only lead to death of innocent people and destruction of the country. In the same vein, proposed sanctions must not further burden the already impoverished population.
So,
are the people of Niger not a people that you look at and it saddens your heart that you want to now take military to go and attack because there's a coup? When you know that, we know what, I think in the world rankings,
they are number
Niger
2.
It's number 2. I was even going to say number 3. The number 2 poorest country in the world. It's just frustrating that even a person like me in an Anglophone country, I'm probably not suffering what they're suffering, but I'm looking at them as my brothers, and I think it's just highly unfair. ECOWAS didn't see all these things that over the period you have strong mandates.
They don't care.
Yes. You have a strong mandate to implement certain things in some African countries. You cannot do it. And you say, once the people now revolt, we now see ECOWAS showing its muscles.
Why
wouldn't you have people
ECOWAS
think
has
that
always,
it's just some crony sitting somewhere?
No.
When they saw African countries and leaders changing constitution to suit them, so that they can have more power, more time in office. Didn't they see?
ECOWAS has always condemned those acts.
That's not enough.
ECOWAS has always condemned those acts.
That's my problem. The condemnation is not enough.
And let me bring clarity. ECOWAS has always condemned those acts. And if you look at it, Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, these countries that have gone through military takeovers and also distorted their democratically elected government have been a stronger part of the Accra Initiative, which was set up by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo when he was ECOWAS chair. That goal was to strengthen security and share intelligence, and I'm sure Dr. BONAA is very much aware of that. And I mean, if you look at the peculiarities, I mean, Dr. BONAA alluded to it, that the freedom as it is that Francophone West Africa is supposed to have is not what they have. And so there's a clear distinction between some of the challenges that Francophone West Africa has vis-a-vis some of the challenges that Anglophone West Africa would have. It's as a result of that why these issues must be addressed. And I think that ECOWAS was very prompt when the coup d'etat happened. It was a palace coup d'etat. When the palace coup d'etat happened in Niamey, very prompt, the ECOWAS chair met with the African countries. Our president was there, Benin president was there, Togo president was there, Guinea-Bissau president was there, Guinea itself's president was there, Cote d'Ivoire's president was there, the president of Niger had a representative, there was an ambassador from Sierra Leone who was there, ambassador from Liberia who were there, ministers of foreign affairs as well from those other countries were present. And these were very prompt actions. There's an extent to which really ECOWAS influence can go. I mean, the sovereign right really resides in the people, which is why ECOWAS always serves as a guide. And ECOWAS is ensuring that peace prevails. And I think that rather than bashing ECOWAS, we must always commend ECOWAS for ECOWAS efforts.
No, we don't always okay. Have to commend ECOWAS.
No, but when ECOWAS is prompt with their actions and their responses, I think we should commend that.
How prompt are they?
When the coup d'etat
in 2020, I'm not a security analyst, but Palgrave, in 2020, I picked up intelligence 2020 of Francophone countries and what could be happening in the near future. In 2020, how prompt was ECOWAS? I don't know if they picked up this intelligence.
But ECOWAS always picks up intelligence, Annie.
Macron, no, the issue of Macron, not even Macron, but France control in its African countries was getting to the neck of its people. And they had already started complaining. They were coming out. They were talking. Because of maybe, I would say, my job, you can pick some information on the sub-region. And I picked up information that these people were not happy. Very soon, they would take the power from France. So I would say that even what has happened today, for instance, where I stand, I'm not surprised. But that is not a prompt action I've seen from ECOWAS upon picking such intelligence. That's if they picked at all.
No, ECOWAS definitely does pick intelligence. I did say that at the time when President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was ECOWAS chair on a 2-term, the Accra Initiative was set up. It was at the backbench of a number of intelligence that have been picked up to ensure that we share intelligence across other regional countries, and then also be able to ensure that we have a standby military that is able to withstand any pressures that would come from other places. And I think that the French influence on Francophone West Africa is age old. It's always been there, but we also need to realize is the benefit that these citizens of the various French West African countries were benefiting from them, which Anglophone West Africa was not even benefiting from any of our colonial masters. And so they have had a better part of a lot of assistance from French Europe vis-a-vis the various challenges that they're having now. I mean, we cannot say that they should eat a humble pie, but it's really an issue that the entire ECOWAS sub-region must be able to look into, so that if governments are wanting to negotiate mineral resources, I mean, I'm very much aware that one of the major reasons why this palace coup d'etat happened is as a result of a particular mineral resource that the West is wanting to bargain and have at a lower cost, and that goes to the detriment of the citizenry. And so, but the citizenry and a sizable part of Francophone West Africa has been in bed with French Europe, and they have enjoyed the booties of it. And so if you are reaping the repercussions of your own actions, ECOWAS as a regional body can only come in to ensure that you foster cordiality, and in fostering cordiality, you also ensure as much as possible that you return back to constitutional rule. That is the only business that's the only business that people can have a greater understanding to have negotiations with you. Ghana has been part of ECOWAS since 1975, and since 1975, we've been a beacon of hope and an example for the rest of the sub-region of West Africa. And so if presidents are changing their constitution and wanting to extend those constitutions, ECOWAS always comes in with those protocols to remind them that those are not constitutionally mandated routes for you to take, but also realize that these individual countries are sovereign states. So ECOWAS almost always has a limit to which they can go, but they always serve as a bigger brother to the rest of the sub-regional countries that are part of ECOWAS.
Let me take just a quick break, a few minutes. I'll be back shortly. We'll wrap up with the guests. All right, welcome back. So having a very interesting conversation on security on the West African bloc. So remember that ECOWAS is, representing the whole, it's the economic community of the West African bloc. So whether Francophone or Anglophone, you're all within the West African bloc, right? So you are affected. And the sad thing is that we experience the spillover, you understand, where we will now have to cater for people that are coming into the country for better shelter. So I think, let me come to you. I was on a banter with Palgrave, but the truth of the matter is that Niger doesn't stand well. If you look at Ivory Coast, there was no justification for the change of its constitution and all that. And the people are not happy, but they can't do much. So if you can't do much, what do you want to do? Yeah, and you see, when you look at these African, when you look at these French countries, their reasons are different too, but it runs for a common interest across the bloc.
You see, let me tell you what, I don't support coup in its entirety. But if, let's say, the current president of the republic, I'm not saying he would attempt any funny constitutional change, but if he was to attempt to stay a day after 7th of January 2025, some of us will go and take our kafube. You see, we'll go and take our guns from our bedrooms to come and chase him out.
Oh, that was...
No, we will not wait.
One day.
We will not wait because you have done your 2 terms.
One day won't make any difference.
No, it will make a difference. You have done, that will be unconstitutional. You have done your 2 terms. Okay. The Constitution says that on the 7th of January, we bring out that sword for another person, if you've done your 2 terms, for someone else to use it to swear, and then we carry on.
But you know why I also sometimes support African countries who want to extend their terms?
No.
This 4-year thing is not helping us.
Well, it's better.
It's too short.
So let me tell you something.
Because remember during Kufuor's time, this discussion came up.
You see,
where we were now looking at, okay, let's extend it to 5 years. There were proposals of 5 years, 6 years.
Let me tell you the grounds on which I believe majority of, let's say if Nanado, the president, His Excellency, decides that we should undertake a referendum to extend the term, from 4 to, let's say, 7 years.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be a beneficiary to that change.
Okay.
He should not be a beneficiary to that change.
It should affect the next
It should affect, maybe we can do it and say after 8 years, this will kick in. Because if you say it should affect the next person, then there could be manipulation.
Okay. So then we see it as your interest you're looking at.
Yes. So for me, if we want to do it, it should be done so that you are doing it to benefit genuinely. Not that you are doing it to benefit yourself. Look at Alassane Ouattara. You think if there is a coup in Cote d'Ivoire, I will not be celebrating. I will celebrate if there is a coup in Cote d'Ivoire. I will celebrate. Look at what is happening in Adama Barrow. We know how Adama Barrow became, how we all supported, the guys there to chase Yaya Jammeh out. Today, he has changed. He's entrenched himself, isn't it? Look at Senegal. What is happening in Senegal? It is all because of the French factor. It is the French doing everything to entrench themselves in Africa and in West Africa. And so as far as I'm concerned, this is the time all of us, if we could drive or we could go to Niger to go and help them to get rid of the French, I will support it.
So how do we come in? The ECOWAS has already released...
No, ECOWAS, see, let me tell you something. ECOWAS knows what they should have been doing. ECOWAS knows what they should have been doing. ECOWAS, by now, should have made sure that Alassane Ouattara did not be a beneficiary of the change of their constitution.
That he effected.
ECOWAS should have made sure that Adama Barrow and all these people, but ECOWAS sat down, folded their arms, and watched. For all these people to do that, as we speak today, is ECOWAS telling us that they are not aware of the poverty levels in, what do you call it, in Niger? They are aware of it.
No, but ECOWAS even knows the election discrepancies in Nigeria.
Thank you.
And still elected its
exactly.
leader
elected
as
him
ECOWAS leader.
as an ECOWAS leader, and it is Tinubu, unfortunately. He can't even walk properly. He's weak. And this is the person who is instigating and declaring war on the entire ECOWAS.
Right.
And we are sitting down as citizens, and we can't do anything. Because you see, when they meet, what do? So mine is that until such a time that we chase the French factor out, once we are able to remove the French factor out of, see, my good friend Palgrave was talking about the ECO. The ECO can never work because the French don't want it.
Yeah.
The ECO can never work. I mean, they have entrenched themselves. See, when Macron became the French leader, one of the first destinations he came to was, Ivory Coast. I remember making a statement and I received messages from here and there. People say, be careful. He came and made sure generals within the Ivorian armed forces were retired. As we speak, if we go to Nigeria, about 145 generals within the Nigerian army have been retired by Tinubu. Can you imagine the next person who takes over from President Nanado comes in and he looks into our military officers, the generals, their faces, and he says, I've retired 100 of you. When it is they are not due to go on retirement, he says, I've retired them. You think Ghanaians would agree? We will not agree. But Tinubu has done that in Nigeria. Yeah. Even though he's still fighting for legitimacy. He's done that in Nigeria. Okay. And so mine is that, Annie, we are sitting on a ticking time bomb. And I support what is going on in Francophone West Africa, 100%. I don't support coups. But you see, if we don't remove the French factor from our body politic in West Africa, me and you see, the only place we can run to could be Sierra Leone, Liberia, or Nigeria. You can, when it comes to those of us who speak English. But the rest of them, are you going to go to Cote d'Ivoire? Am I now going to learn the French alphabet? I don't speak French. Yeah. And so mine is that we should be more concerned. Yeah. And as we speak, I intercepted a communique amongst our military circles that 23rd of this month, we are sending troops to Niger. Yeah. And some of us are frightened. Because you see, if you don't know how the military can become agitated and internal upheavals start, once you send them in there and the sending is not popular amongst the people and the body bags begin to come home,
it will send a signal.
It sends a signal because then it means that you were talking about our leaders don't listen. This is the time, more than any other time, that the leadership, starting from the president, who is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, he needs to listen. The Speaker of Parliament, if he has to bring Parliament together to ensure that the president doesn't send our military into any uncharted waters, any needless conflict in the sub-region. All right, we will sit here, and when the guns begin to blaze, unfortunately, the MPs are usually the first, you are told, report at the nearest police station for your own safety. We don't want that here. All that we want is that if the Nigerians and French West Africa wants to get rid of the Paris Club, they want to remove the French, let's support them. For me, I don't support coup. In this country, You see,
But we have to support the best
I'm
for them.
sitting here. I speak my mind. I do what I have to do. I will still drive my car and live here and go because the amount of freedom we enjoy is good. But you can't do that in most of these countries.
Our time is up. But are you sending 23rd?
So I'm actually surprised that Dr. BONAA will release such classified information on the national TV.
He said he's intercepted. I mean, he didn't tell us the source.
No, it might be true. It might not be true. I haven't shared a document. All that I'm saying is that, you see, it's classified doesn't mean that if I give you a document, then
what I can say really is that there are 3 people that have been evacuated from Niger as we speak in terms of Ghanaian citizens. The government of Ghana, together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and our mission in Niamey, is working effortlessly to ensure that Ghanaians are safe, and also is ensuring and giving a caution to Ghanaians not to travel to Niger at the moment because of the situation that is there. We're working very hard to ensure that all Ghanaians that are in Niger are safe and are back into Ghana safely. We are also ensuring that the air corridors have become very dangerous now, and so we're using close countries like Benin and Togo to be able to come into Ghana. And so that's an assurance to Ghanaians who have family in Niger that their citizens are safe and peaceful. The ambassador in Niger, which is Ghana's ambassador to Niger, is meeting Ghanaians today and ensuring that all the safety protocols have been put in place.
Okay, so someone says, and I greet my brother, Dr. BONAA, for me. The coup in Africa is leadership crisis coupled with corruption and self-interest. People are becoming informed and well-questioned democracy in different forms and ways. Our leaders must rethink and allow service take center stage. Annie, I think political leaders in West Africa also need to be addressing the issues that necessitate the staging of coup in the sub-region instead of just fighting those who are tired of misrule and injustice meted out onto citizens in the name of democracy. Sam East Legon Hills sends that in. We will do this again, but our time is up for now. But this is, I think, political leaders in West Africa. Okay, I've read this, so let me leave it here. Dr. Adam BONAA, thank you for coming.
So I wanted you to ask him whether the signal I intercepted is true.
Is it
because
true?
I don't know whether it's true.
But Andy,
if it is.
Is it true?
Dog is aware that we can't share some classified information.
No.
But
if you're sending our military troops out,
we cannot share some classified security information
what
on national TV.
You're sending.
No, he's not answering.
No, Annie,
I want to know whether it is true
or
because
not.
I'm trying to check whether it is true. So
I
don't have
that was my first question to him. But
I can't share any document.
Dr. BONAA is aware of whatever protocols he needs to go through to get those informations appropriately.
No.
And so I'm saying that we cannot share some classified information concerning security
for government and
on
also spokesperson on security. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Ania Frampofo. We'll do it again on Wednesday. Thank you for watching.